Hey guys, welcome back to Array to Survival in Fieldcraft. I'm Andrew. What I have for you today is a very quick video. It's going to be a pocket dump on my Instructor loadout, what I keep in my pockets. This last time teaching the intermediate survival course out of the Pathfinder school, and then things that I always keep in the pockets for whether it's instructing survival for my own purposes, or if I'm doing projects around the farm or out in the woods, I'm going to have these items in my pockets. So let's go over those right now. All right, so that first item, at least out at the schoolhouse, is that Ranger Grip 78 from Victorinox. That Swiss Army knife. This thing is awesome. The one thing I like about it a lot is that the grip is actually very comfortable. So when you're hogging down on material, you're making feather sticks, or you're processing different things or carving things out, the grip on the Ranger Grip is going to be a very comfortable grip. So we've got that large blade, a nice large blade. This thing held an edge the entire weekend or the 4 days of survival instruction. I didn't have to sharpen it at all, and so it held a good edge. Honed it afterwards just to put a cleaner edge on it for future use. And we've got that large saw. These two tools, that large blade and that large saw, are going to be the best for bushcraft and survival because carving and notching, and you can do a lot just with a simple pocket knife. You don't always need a large buck saw or that big belt knife on you, or a hatchet or an axe. You can do a lot with just a simple Swiss Army knife or just a pocket knife. We have the obligatory can and bottle opener that are great little tools. We have the Phillips head screwdriver on the back, and then one of the better tools with this is going to be that reamer or that awl to actually create holes to drill through with different materials. This little pocket knife is going to be probably the best you can get just to put in your pocket as a bushcraft, all-around field craft bushcraft knife. We obviously have the tweezers and the toothpick, which are great to have, but for an all-around good pocket knife, really can't get any better than that Ranger 78. Obviously, multi-tools are going to be great. I really appreciate the pliers on multi-tools. So I'm going to have something like a Leatherman Super Tool 300 or the Wave or the Surge in my kit. It may not go on the belt right away because we could use other methods, 2 sticks to actually pick up hot pots, or toggles and string to actually put different things into the fire and out of the fire safely without using the pliers. The main reason I have the pliers is just because it's an extra set of hands to manipulate fine material, especially fish hooks or nails, small metal implements we can hold with the pliers and then actually sharpen those fairly easily. That's why I like the pliers and the wire cutters, so we can manipulate different trash or materials that we find out in the bush that we can use for survival. So a multi-tool, a pocket knife, a belt knife, a larger saw, a hatchet. If you carry all 5 of those, then you've got it made. But for just a basic pocket carry item, it really doesn't get better than that Ranger Grip 78. And I know a lot of the instructors carry this, and this is one that I carry routinely. All right, next, 2 different pieces of cordage. Now, obviously, 550 cord type 3. It's going to have the 7 inner strands, 550-pound tensile strength. The inner strands are going to be 50-pound tensile strength. The sheath is going to be about 200, and so we've got that 550 right there. With this is going to be utility cordage. It's approximately 6 or 7 feet or so of cordage, just a hank of cordage. Students actually brought a 6-foot hank to the intermediate course, and there's a lot you can do with just a simple hank of paracord. I've shown different skills with just a hank of paracord, a million different uses with just a small hank like this. And so we can take this, put it in our pocket. I carry one of these daily in my pocket. We can use this from everything from fieldcraft to maybe a emergency medical aid item, or to secure a bandage, or to secure a tourniquet in place. We can use this for traps and snares, for fishing. A lot of good stuff right here with just a basic piece of paracord. And then something I grabbed while I was at the schoolhouse is just Dacron cord, and this is, I think, 3/8 inch diameter cordage, and it's about, I want to say, 800-pound tensile strength. It's got Dacron in the middle, and Dacron is supposed to be fireproof or flame-proof, so that means that we can take this, use it maybe with a saw handle or a saw, something like this. We can lash it to a larger pole and then cut down material with this. We can also use this, and I use this to help illustrate or demonstrate knots or knot tying and lashing. 550 cord will do that, although it's a little bit small, but if you have Dacron like this, or if you have a orange cord that is highly visible, it's a little easier for students to understand. And with knot tying, you're either gonna understand knots right away or you're not. Luckily, I have a high spatial reasoning IQ, so I can actually look at knots and get them relatively quickly. I am not as good explaining those knots to students, so it takes me a couple tries. But a larger hank of cord like this is great because we can do everything from camp craft, field craft, to even mountaineering with something like this. You can use this for a lot of different things. And so having a larger and smaller diameter cordage, just small hanks, again, 6 feet, about 6 feet in the pocket, makes it easier for us to do a lot of different things with basic tools that we may have available, lashing and binding, as well as demonstration, and then anything that we could use around the camp for field craft. So 2 different hanks of cordage is what I put in my cargo pocket the entire training cycle, and so that's what I'm going to carry from now on. All right, next, obviously a lighter is going to be that #1 fire starting tool. As an instructor, we can do bow drill sets. Got just one of the many bow drill sets I carve while I'm out there. I have a lot more access to resources out of the Pathfinder school, taking down tulip poplar like this and making bow drill sets. And I like to practice bow drill while I'm out there, plus we demonstrate it to students. And so we're gonna practice those skills, but we're also gonna carry primary fire starting tools, because in the event that we have an emergency, hypothermia, or somebody's going down and we have to have a fire for a signal, whatever it is, we want something that's gonna give us fire right away. So this is gonna go right in the pocket, #1 fire starting tool, obviously, and then we have the 100-mile-an-hour tape wrapped around outside that we can use for a lot of different things. It's a great flame extender. It's great for Band-Aids, and we can make improvisational butterfly Band-Aids or H-style Band-Aids with this. We can use this tape also to help repair gear or patch holes in our tarps. A lot of good uses with 100-mile-an-hour tape, and it fits nice and easy right on that lighter. If you're not doing that by now with the duct tape or 100-mile-an-hour tape or Gorilla tape, you really should. So fire starting tool, and then improvisational with the tape wrapped around the side. Now, speaking of fire, whenever we're out there, we do flint and steel at the schoolhouse. So we're gonna pick up a hard rock and throw it in the pocket. So I've got my Mora companion right here. They actually had this on the packing list for SEER school, but we can take that hard rock, it actually shoots sparks with that high carbon steel blade. Flint and steel was one of the tasks the students had to complete at the last course, and so we just make it a habit to grab hard rocks like this, throw it in the pocket, a piece of chert, or maybe even something that's sort of flint like this that we can throw in the pocket, use it for flint and steel later on as a demonstration. We like to teach on the move, so as we're doing our resource walks, as we're doing land navigation practical exercises, we're gonna pick up stuff like this. We're gonna find different resources, and we're gonna demonstrate those skills on the move, just like the students would do in a real survival scenario. So always grabbing something like this, resource in the pocket, it's too easy. And then obviously we have to maintain our lips while we're out there in the woods. You can always tell a steely-eyed killer by the suppleness of his lips. We can use this not only for our lips, but maybe drier areas, even the cuticles or small dry areas of our fingers. Had to do that before. Plus, this makes a great flame extender, so we can take cotton, put it under the cap, put it right there. It's relatively water resistant or waterproof. Pull this out, put some of the chapstick on that cotton, and then we can use that as tinder in its place. Always good to have chapstick, and this is just basic petroleum jelly or petrolatum jelly right here in a small tube. Great flame extender and tinder source. And then I typically make it a habit, because of military training, to have just a basic headlamp on, one with red lens, different white lenses, and then even a strobe setting for that passive signal that we can hang up in a tree. I would rather have a flashlight or a headlamp that's gonna have that strobe setting in a white light, because we can see it for a lot longer in the dark. But having that headlamp, especially when the lights go out, because we may be out there in the woods actually training and teaching, and it's just a common practice that we have our headlamp in our pocket or draped around our neck. And once that sun starts to go down and we get that early evening nautical twilight, we're gonna put this thing up and then begin to use it once we can't actually see that far or see what we're doing with our hands. And we'll go to red lens at nighttime so we don't blind everybody out there by the fire pit or around the patrol base. And we can see what we're doing with our hands, putting up shelter or doing other tasks, fire starting, all that kind of stuff. And so having a headlamp, just a small basic one like this in the pocket and then putting over the neck before the sun goes down and the lights go out is always great to have. The thing that I typically grab at the schoolhouse or I'll bring with me is a notebook because we keep a lot of notes. I learned more as an instructor than I ever did as a student at survival courses because I get to see behind the scenes, I get to see different resources, I get to listen to instructors as I move with the students, and so I take down notes and I learn as much as I can, and it's always good to re-blue on knowledge that may be lost or forgotten along the way. And so different plant resources, different uses for different things, different resources or areas for different time of year. I'll take notes and I'll write it down in here. Plus, this is where I keep a lot of the student notes for scores on how they did, if they missed land navigation points or if they did extra credit, if there was a challenge or something like that. And then I even do stuff like this, just small little fieldcraft hacks like I showed in my last video, to keep a small pencil or writing stick in here, and then even the sail needle for gear repair, but also as a navigational tool because we can open up to that middle of the notebook and then use this as a sun compass as well. And so there's a lot of uses with a small notebook like this. We even have rulers on the side, so we could use this as a protractor for a map if we don't have a protractor. The notebook is a great tool to use and have, very small. And I put this right inside that chest pocket, so I know it's there. I can grab it out very quickly, jot down notes, and then put it back in the pocket and continue movement. So this is something that's always gonna be in my everyday carry for instructing and for survival and for a basic kit setup, stuff like that. Now, another thing that's gonna be in the pocket is something that's very important to have, and this is gonna be the first thing that we slap on any sort of catastrophic injury, and that's gonna be a tourniquet. This is for me or for somebody else. I carry another first aid kit inside my rucksack or my instructor bag for students while I'm out there. And I like to keep mine right out here. I think that's our standard operating procedure for instructors, that we have our first aid kit in this outside pack so we can actually undo it and then get in here for all our good first aid stuff. Notice the first thing right on top is a signal, a chem light buzz saw that we can either spin or hang up in a tree. It's got cordage attached so we can use it to attach to different points or spin it. And then we've got a variety of different things. CPR mask, we've got gauze, we've got ace tape, we've got an Israeli bandage, we've got sugar in the form of glucose for anybody that's going down or needs sugar in their system because of exertion. We've got different minor things. We've got smaller bandages and just a basic kit for minor bumps and abrasions, lacerations, cuts and bruises, blisters, shears, so we can cut off clothing and actually expose the wound, ID the point of injury, and then actually treat that. We've got some burn bandages and even some quick clot in here as part of that. And so we have just a basic kit that I keep right outside here. But the number one important survival medical aid item is going to be that tourniquet. That tourniquet, high and tight above the injury, tight, and then twisting that windlass, locking it in place until the bleeding stops. And then noting the time on here of when the tourniquet was actually applied. Because the average human can bleed out in 2 to 3 minutes and even quicker if they're exerting themselves. So that tourniquet is going to be in the pocket as an instructor, as a survivalist, to help save a life during a catastrophic injury and then get that person, even myself, to the next higher level of care. So that tourniquet's in there. And then one of the last things I carry in the pockets, either over the shoulder, around the waist, or tucked in the back pocket, is going to be some sort of cloth here. I just got the shemagh. Usually it's going to be a bandana or a military cravat. But that shemagh, 100% cotton material. We can use this for a lot of things. Improvisational tourniquet. We can use it as a pressure dressing. We can use it as a water strainer. We can use it to wrap up in, stay warm. We can use it as a signal if it's highly visible, like an orange color. We can use this to collect materials and use this for a lot of different things, especially a large shemagh like this. A bandana can be used for a lot of things as well. We can even turn this into char material, but that shemagh or that cotton cloth is going to be in the pocket. It's very lightweight, very easy. It dries out quickly if we have to go through water. And I'm not worried about it, but we can take this and use it for so much that it just makes sense to have something like this in the pocket or on our person to carry. So that cotton cloth or that shemagh or that bandana is going to be in the pocket as well. All right, so something that I carry all the time, I'll wear my instructor hat and I'll have a lot of stuff inside this hat. In fact, it's falling out right now, which isn't a bad thing, but only if I lose the hat. And so with the instructor hat, this is from Wazoo Survival. It's got little pockets on the inside where we can actually carry certain things, and then I have other things just kind of hidden or as part of this hat, just for basic items to carry that I don't want in my pockets, but I want to use in case of emergency or for instructing purposes. And we're going to go around this hat and I'll show it very quickly. Now, the first thing is a safety pin. That's on the back to actually hold the strap together because the Velcro's coming off. This is an older style Wazoo Survival hat, so the Velcro's not that great, and this thing has been worn for years and years. And so we've got that safety pin. We can use that for gear repair just like this, or as improvisational fish hooks. We can use it to help get a splinter out. There's a lot of good things with safety pins like this. This is a large one from a military cravat, so we can use that. And then underneath the patch right here, I'm going to have a couple of different fish hooks. If I can pull them out without dumping them all. These fish hooks are different sizes, one with an orange lure on it, and then just a large, medium, and small fish hook. I'll actually pull these out because we do a lot of fishing skills, and there's a lot of resources to actually go fish and get food. Like I was taught in survival, it's fish first. And so we have just a number of different hooks. We used orange paracord as a lure on one of those hooks, and we have different sizes. With those hooks, we can catch large fish with small hooks, and we can catch small fish with small hooks, but we can't catch small fish with large hooks. So we want to carry hooks for the fish that we're going to go after. Small panfish are perfect for survival, and if we have the ability and we know there are larger fish in those areas, we can carry larger hooks. But small survival hooks like this are going to be great for the fish that we're going after because they're not too big and we can take a lot of fish, small fish and large fish as well. And so we keep these right behind the patch because this patch is actually very strong. This Velcro is strong, and we can put it in here fairly safely, fit all our hooks inside. It's not like we're going to lose them. You saw me pull up the Velcro. We actually have to pull this stuff because we don't adjust this often. That patch sits there perfectly. And then we could even remove the stitching around this patch, expose the underside of the rubber patch itself behind that hook pile tape, and actually put the hooks in there if we wanted to as well, or even just hook them in this patch. While we're fishing, we can take off the hat, grab the hooks, switch them out if need be. But fishing hooks, fish first. Fish are going to be the most plentiful and high-calorie food that we can go after in a water area because we're going to go to water anyway. We want to get that water to hydrate, so why not have fish hooks and then some other tackle or terminal tackle to go after that meal that's going to be ready for us, water and food all in one go. And then underneath, inside these different pockets inside the cap, I like to carry extra fire starters, and so I'm going to have two in here. I'm going to have a Fresnel lens because we can use the sun's rays. It's a renewable resource. It's too easy. This is lightweight. It's flexible. It fits right inside the hat. It's too easy to have this and use it. And then a piece of man-made tinder. This is just one of those mini infernos that come at the Pathfinder school, so we can use this. This thing will burn for 5 to 10 minutes to give us extended flame to get a fire going. Especially in an emergency, this is going to be for students when they go down for issues, exhaustion, or like I said, we have to make a signal to actually put smoke in the air for search and rescue or to bring in other instructors so they can extract that student to a higher level of care. We want to have some way to start fire. We can actually tear this in half, tear it in quarters, make small pieces, and use this for multiple fires if we have to. And then we have a plastic bag to contain this. Even though it's somewhat waterproof and resistant already, we want to safeguard this, and this is only for emergencies. And then next we have fishing line on a line winder that we can use with those hooks in the front of the cap. Create a simple cane pole and go fishing with some bait or that lure to get that meal. So having some fishing line is going to be great. We could also use that cordage, the inner strand from that 550 cord, as our line as well. But we have just a little bit of fishing line in there. And then we have just another line winder on the other side with more heavy duty line. This is bank line number 6, I believe. And this is going to be flexible but still strong and waterproof. It's going to be that tarred mariner's line, so we can use this for water traps as well. If we want to get that water, collect it, put out a passive trap, and then come back later, maybe the next morning after camp, check it to see if we have any food on the line. So having just a couple different line winders with fishing line, with bank line, and you can see the other 2 hanks of cordage. Cordage is a huge deal in survival. It's one of the hardest things to recreate out in the wild if you don't have the skill, but then you have to have the right materials, and you have to have enough of those materials to actually build reliable cordage. So carrying cordage is gonna be super important. That's why I have a lot of cordage as part of my kit, because it has different uses and we can use these at different times in place of those others. Like I said, 550 guts for fishing line or even traps, or demonstrating knots or lashing and binding materials. And so carrying a lot of cordage is going to be one of the things that is a hallmark of my kit, at least. And then one of the last things, as you've seen, have a watch to tell time. We can obviously use the hand method. 4 fingers is about an hour. Each finger is about 15 minutes of time from horizon up to the bottom of the sun. So we can use that to gauge time, but then also just a mini button compass on the wrist so we can get that cardinal direction very quickly. This one actually has degrees in increments of 20, so you can actually land navigate with this just a little bit better than you would with a smaller button compass without the degrees around the bezel ring. So something like this to get a quick direction easily, so we can just maintain our bearing while we're out there in the woods. We should always know what direction is what direction while we're out there in the fields. We should know our 4 cardinal directions at all times. We can know just north, and then we can deduce the other 3 just by knowing where north is. That way we always know where we are. In the military, we used to have to know where we were on the map and point to it within approximately 200 meters or 100 meters at any time. And so we had to know where we were. We had to track pace count. We had to know our bearing or our azimuth. We had to know terrain association. We had to know where we were and explain that as part of training, just to gain that extra level of land navigation. And so having small things like this actually make the world of difference for land navigation for survival, because we know where we're at. If we have a map of the area, or we keep a good navigation log or a travel log, we can actually find our way out with just basic information. But knowing where you are based off terrain association, azimuth or degree, or that compass face, cardinal directions is super important, because then you might have a chance of actually finding your way out. All right, guys, so here is everything in my pocket dump kit as a survival instructor, and everything that I usually carry anyway for going out to the field, for survival, all those good things. And so I really hope you like this video, another down and dirty video today. I just wanted to do a pocket dump for you guys to demonstrate or illustrate what I carry in my pockets and why, and maybe give you a couple ideas what you can put in your pockets or in your patches as well. So I really hope you liked this video. If you did like this video, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, leave me a comment in the comment section. I always appreciate your feedback. I want to thank you guys for everything you do for me, for this channel, for your likes, your views, your subscriptions, your comments, your feedback, and your shares. And I'll be back with another video as soon as I can, guys. Thanks.